You can look these conditions up: XY female, XX male. They got names for this stuff, but they from a mirror dimension. That's why they genetics mirror ours upside down and backwards. Everybody ain't from Earth, but the ones who was naturally tied to the Earth, they can't go nowhere else unless they leave by apparatus, right? And the ones who don't belong here, Earth send that pitch out. That's over for them. Should have left when you had a chance. They had a big exodus from Antarctica about a year and a half ago. But they told us that it was a meteor shower. They didn't tell us it was thousands of ships leaving. So they played the video in reverse.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? That reminds me of it reminds me of the, I don't know if you saw it or not. I want to say, shit, where was it at? I want to say it was in London about maybe a couple of months ago when they had a very significant, I would say, occurrence in the skies over London to where, and I got this in some of my research for one of the videos I'm going to be putting out in regards to all this we're talking about, but it was like, kind of like the Gayami symbol, but it was like a solar, it was a white, almost like identical version of this, except for minus the two middle parts, where it was like spinning in the sky in London. And it was like
that's a Dyson sphere.
Okay.
That's a Nibiru satellite.
Yeah. And I talked about Nibiru Thursday. Can you share what that's
before, look, when Nibiru is coming closer to the Earth, before they come, they always survey the Earth. And they got other planets that they do that with. The Dyson sphere is a satellite, right? They can actually use it, and they got a speaker system on there. And then they have what's called a telepathic communication system on there where they can talk to your mind without talking with words. And it carries a lot of power. It's the same, it's a biblical description of the angel. The Dyson sphere.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so now for the people who might not have never heard of Nibiru, which I'm pretty sure most people out here probably have, but there might be some people who haven't. Do you mind sharing, like, with the tribe who?
Nibiru is called the planet of the crossing. The scientists got several names for it. They call it Rilo 7. They call it Planet X. The Dark Planet. It's a couple more names. I can't remember them all right now. But it's the second sun in our binary star system. Most of us don't know we live in a binary star system because the second star is got a different elliptical orbit than the Earth sun has. So when it goes through, it comes back at the close of every major cycle. Sometimes it comes back at different times based on the orbit, and it's a ship. They can navigate it, but it's also a sun called the black sun. But it's still another astrological body that comes through periodically.
Yeah, that's deep. I was trying to pull it up too. I want to pull it up. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up on the screen, like kind of like a diagram of Nibiru and like what it looks like and what it entails. So with that, because for those who might be new to the concept of Nibiru, and also like for those who might know of Nibiru but not know the depths of the details, Nibiru ain't just like a craft or a ship. It's huge. It's actually about what, the size of Earth, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere
it's like 1.5 times bigger than our sun.
Right. So right now, with that, Nibiru won't technically be able to come into the planet because it's bigger than the planet. But Nibiru how close can Nibiru come to planet Earth within our solar system?
Several million miles. The orbit that is on, we will be able to see it, and it'll almost look like you can reach out and touch it, especially in the Alaska area, right? But it's not going to be as close as it look. It's just that it's that goddamn big.
Yeah, and it moves with a it moves with a like what do you call it? What do you call it when you move a procession? It moves in a procession where it has like I want to say like 4 like crafts or 4 winds that are on each 4 corners of.
Right. So those are the reconnaissance battleships that protects Nibiru. They call them the Four Winds, but they ships. They big as a planet, but it's a ship. Right. Just like the Death Star in Star Wars, the ship is navigatable. You can steer it. So the first several times that since it's been in this orbit, it would throw the crust of the earth into a flip. This is what broke Pangea up. And it would flip the crust of the earth. Now they navigated the ship, so when it come through, you only would know by the core stop and reverse spin, which happened in January of 2024. But those are ships. Nibiru is a ship. Then they got lesser ships called motherships. That's, you know, they can come into the Earth atmosphere. They small enough, but they still fucking huge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. Then they got cigar shaped craft. Those are primarily Inky's fleet. The ones that look like giant triangles is primarily the fleet of Enlil. But we don't have to worry about them no more because he been taken through the galactic courts and he confessed to all of the stuff he did. Right. So his reign is over. Right. Yeah. So all of his holdings now are liberated. They can be free will universes if they choose, or they can go back to being restricted will universes. Most of them want free will.
That's deep. That's real deep. I was trying to pull those. I was trying to pull the images in the bureau, but I don't want to get off track with keeping intact with the tribe and with the conversation. But I'll definitely have them for the next one. So now, let me see. We got a question. I think this one might be a relevant one. Well,
yeah, I'm going to say we coming up on 3 hours. We could take some questions from the audience from here.
Yeah. So let me.
We'll check out in about 15 minutes or so.
I got you. Let's do it. So let me see. Nope, that's not the one. Hold on. Okay, this one right here. Let me see. Let's see what this question is. Has anyone heard about ET spaceships that regularly go inside or outside of the sun?
Yeah. NASA published a video 2017, 2018 of a giant craft siphoning energy from the sun. It was a big black orb. It was siphoning energy from the sun. Yeah, that was a big deal to the NASA team.
Listen, I got a question from Thursday, which is funny to me that you said that. You said it was a big deal for the NASA team. So we was chopping it up. Like I said, the conversation was similar, but we talked about a lot. We covered a lot of ground, but one of the questions was about whether or not, well, it started with the difference between mankind and human. That's where it started. But then we went into, one of the brothers was like, yo, so is that what they meant when they said one small step for man, one giant step for mankind? Can you, does that make any sense to you? And if so, what does that mean to you from your perspective?
Yeah, well, mankind is it's a code word for Indo-Europeans. Well, not Neo-Europeans. And man is the code term from ancient humans. That's all. So you look at it like this: the babies on Earth is getting a chance to feel like they running something. Okay. Now that they done went through their catharsis and burnt off all of their psychopathic racial personality and the Iceman inheritance, they ready to join the rest of the humans as a spiritual being. The rights of ascension was the great debauchery, what was denied them the rights of ascension. Being denied the rights of ascension, this is why you have all these aliens here, because it's royal families from different systems that's trying to correct a genetic waste product by donating a drop of blood from one of the royal families throughout the galaxies.
Mm.
That's why America got a one drop of blood doctrine, because we was the last ones to participate in the genetic cleanup through amalgamation.
But that's deep. That, oh my God, that's deep. Because now last week I had Professor Copper on here, and he broke down like the significance of blood and why blood matters when you talk about bloodlines. And he didn't go into that part of it with the extraterrestrial aspect, but he definitely broke it down from a terrestrial aspect. But
Right.
the fact that he went into it from the extraterrestrial aspect, how does, because this has been a hot topic, or at least something that's been talked about quite frequently in the last couple of weeks on the episodes on the show, how does Sirius play a role into all the stuff that's going on, like the Sirius star system of
the dog star,
and the Dogon?
So that goes back to the Dogon cosmology, where they say their ancestors came from Sirius and seeded them here. Right. That was an intermediary period from the beginning to a certain point that's older than modern recorded history. You gotta remember, the history that we are dealing with is only a 6,000 year history. Antediluvian history, ancient history, all of the stuff before 6,000 years, they call it prehistory. That means before they start being able to document a record, right? But the Syrians, the dog star, is the progenitors of the Dogon.
Right. And that would be the nomos, correct?
The nomos is the term for them, but when they call them nomos, my phone about to die. When they call them nomos, they talking about, because remember, they first landed at the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when they came out of the water, they wore the skins of fish.
Yep.
Right. It's just like on Earth when you wear the skin of a deer.
Yeah.
Same thing, different expression.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they nomos. Nomos mean fish man.
That's, listen, I know the phone about to die, but this was dope. We about 3 hours in, man. Like I said, I knew this was gonna be one of them ones. I knew it was gonna be special. It was gonna be monumental. I really felt like my spirit. It made me feel like, and it's dope that we even hit that. But it really made me feel like when Suge got with Pac, when Pac came home and he went in, man. He did the double album, All Eyes on Me, and then Machiavelli, and it's like the way that everything's been moving. That's not a coincidence to me.
Since you brought that up, I want to remind everything what Tupac said on All Eyes on Me. Heard a rumor I died, murdered in cold blood, dramatized. Pictures of me in my final stages. Mama cried. That shit was fiction. Some coward got the story twisted, like I no longer existed, mysteriously missing. Right? He was telling you something. He was telling you something. Right before your very eyes, you won't even realize you can't see me. I'm standing right here and you can't see me. He was with Shock G at the All Eyes on Me premiere.
R.I.P. to Shock G. Shock G from my hood. He from Tampa.
Yeah. Look, you ain't got to R.I.P. Shock G. You can say until we see you in the future.
Yes, sir.
When Pac come back, he coming back with an entourage. It's gonna be they gonna call it the dead celebrity ball.
Listen, and I just had a block party in heaven, and I'm telling you, like,
look, the one that's gonna twist everybody cap back is a guy named Kurt Cobain.
Speak to him. Speak to him. Speak to him.
With people who pass away, why do they know about that? I know Matter wants to come in. Can you talk to me a little bit about cryogenics?
They got that technology from the people that was under the ice in Antarctica. They was telepathically communicating with the scientists because they wanted to throw them out and preserve them alive. And the scientists couldn't figure out. So if you pay attention, cryogenics has been around since the 50s.
Yes.
Admiral Richard Byrd went to Antarctica about the 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say the 30s when he was in Antarctica.
Right. So when they found the people under the ice, they thawed them out. If you go on TikTok and type in Bashinga tribe, the backstory they gave us is they brought these people from Africa and turned them loose in Antarctica and they thrived. That's not the true story. The real story is they thawed them people out from under the ice and they was already used to being cold. So once they thawed them out, it wasn't difficult for them to adapt to conditions of the ice, and they was already at home.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you for sharing that. So, yeah, we there's so much stuff that you said. We've already had the technology that's here now. It's ancient.
It's ancient.
Right.
Yeah. Like when we talk about the med beds and the healing chambers in the ancient writings, they just call them sarcophagi.
Sonetter, he's touching on what I was telling you about the resurrection chambers. That's what we call today healing pod. Wow.
Right? The med bed is a sarcophagi. The healing pod is a resurrection chamber. It can actually regenerate lost limbs.
Thank you.
And missing organs inside the body.
They were laughing at me.
It regenerates you from your genetic blueprint. It reads your biology and then it matches to your genetic blueprint. If your genetic blueprint say that you're supposed to have a foot, but there's no foot here, it can stimulate the growth of the foot. That's what keloids is from.
Oh wow!
Because the Atlanteans had used the chamber so long, they learned how to mimic the chamber with the man.
Okay,
but since we forgot, we can't grow a new ear, but we can grow a big ass keloid.
That makes sense, though. Yeah, and also possibly, Chief, it could. Yeah, wow. Oh no, it's not normal, but it's just
be a planet. Because the planet has took on a solid shape because somebody's watching it. It's no longer a wave. So you're talking about like the double slit experiment where the observer causes the wave to collapse into the particle. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So but then outside, go ahead.
So the observer of the planet is still the person that's looking through the telescope. So you still gonna have the effect of the wave collapse. Every reality that we postulate is false in the 3D. Because tomorrow not here because we ain't created it yet. Yesterday gone because we used it up already. Right? So we burned down yesterday in order to build tomorrow, but too many of us getting stuck today. Because we can't shift the paradigm until enough of us agree to shift the paradigm. So whether it's flat earth, round earth, hollow earth, they all right and they all wrong at the same time in the 3D. Because the wave have to collapse into a particle. So in the wave state, it's an infinite plane. In the particle state, it becomes a torsion field because all things that form into that shape forms the torsion field. The torsion field is replicated by every planet as an atmosphere and every human as a whole. Right? So you either gonna see the waveform or the collapse form. Right? Then some people see the middle. They see a concave Earth or a convex Earth because of the perspective and the angle in which they collapse into atoms on the perception of their reality. So everybody right and everybody wrong because it's all in the process of creation. You got to have enough people agree or disagree. This ain't the first time it's been a hot, heated debate about flat Earth, round Earth. Why do it periodically come up, and what's the pattern? It normally comes up at the close of the age. The reason it normally comes up at the close of the age because all paradigms have to be challenged for the creator guys to collapse the wave into the particle to see the reality that they choose to see. It's a group effort, but don't nobody know they being participated because you have the people they call gatekeepers leading the pack on telling you what you need to be seeing in order for you to collapse with them the reality they want you to produce on their behalf.
And
so the observer is still the individual. All the individuals are the observers, collapsing the waves into the particles of reality.
Can we get downloads from those particles as well?
You can read them like you read in the streamer in the Matrix. You could trace an idea back to a source because it's only a frequency. Anything a machine can do by following the frequency, the mind can do the same. It's just that we not taught or told how to use the mind to the capacity of imitating the machine. You got doulas that could look at a woman when she walk in the door and tell her exactly the day and the time she about to give birth within seconds. But you got doctors that's been practicing medicine for 60 years have to do a whole bunch of tests because he can't figure it out the exact day without his test. Because he can't read the collapse of the wave into the particle that resulted in the birth of the baby, as well as the trained doula. Because she's trained to use other senses than machine, but the doctor trained to use the machines to do it for him.
All right. Rebel Rasta, you ready? Rebel Rasta.
Yeah, bless up,
Bless up.
All right.
Yeah, man, bless up, brother Hayes. You don't know, big up yourself, Sakina Ra. Now, Paul, bless up yourself. I Rastafari, so that's right. But I heard you said something to an extent of we coming down here. So I would like you to expound because you know the Dogans talk about us coming from the stars. But I would like to make the connection also that we didn't come from the stars or we came from the stars. And how did we come through our mom's portal from the dad's seed? And you're saying like we come from somewhere to down here. So like, you know, elaborate and kind of make the connection for me, please.
The father's seed is secondary in creation. The Y chromosome is an X with an atrophied appendix, and it has about 30% less genetic information than an X chromosome, right? The reason why is that the mutation was activated in a prior time by the will of the feminine to change the makeup and structure to produce the masculine, right? Credo Mutua give it to us in the separating of genders through the red light and the blue light. So, but this is metaphoric for the training of the royal family. The red house trains the mother's children and the blue house trains the father's children. This became your Scottish Rite and York Rite Masons, right? Now, the hierarchy of what they call principalities, which is frequency waves of the earth, the people first have to call on their personal family leader, who then calls on the community leader. The community leader then calls upon the multiple community leader. So the grievances vex go through a chain of command on the father line as the ruler line, the governors of the mother's realm, guardians of the sacred yoni, protector of women. So in the process of the training, he has to understand what he's protecting in order for him to be an effective protector. So the reduced genetic matter caused the man to take on a different form as the woman in order to be her protector. But all zygotes, meaning the children, before the mother sends them the permission to convert gender, are female. They become, once her chemistry determines she's going to let the Y chromosome activate, she changes the gender to male in utero. The male then forms into the masculine protector of the feminine. Then once this happens, she produces a male child. But the source still has to trace back to the powerhouse of the cell called mitochondria. Now, because of the missing genetic matter, the men cannot pass mitochondria, but it's required to power the cell of the masculine. The process by which the mother selects the son's wife is by frequency of mitochondria. She don't never have to personally meet her, but the mitochondrial frequencies have to match the unconditional love frequency. And this frequency is what's the sacred marriage or the holy marriage, the uniting of Tahuti and Isis, or the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine being joined as one in order to be a pair of gods as co-creators of the reality. And it's known as the holy drama, as it's played out in the story of Osiris and Isis. And the Dogons also teach the holy drama, but they don't teach it exoterically, they teach it esoterically. The exoteric is the arrival of the Syrians in order to give from Sirius B in order to deliver. We know that they told us, they put it in the public domain that the spell was broken. This was the George Washington Challenge. The George Washington Challenge was a pact made in Masonic lodges. This is why it's not part of his public record, but they can't take it out of the public domain. They have to leave it in the public domain in some fashion or form for us to recover the information and put the story together. And we done went over this before, but this is when they put the tribes with the conquistadors, Huguenots, and gentry under one determination of black, right? And the reason why they done that is because we was the ones responsible to break the spell. Either the righteous Moors is going to win or the dirty Moors is going to win, right? Mm-hmm. It said we would agree to take the feathers and turbans off the Moors' heads and remove the sandals from their feet. You see when it say sandals, when the Europeans came over here, the French, Italians, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the English, they wore something called buckle shoes. We all remember the buckle shoes. We went over that, Elder. Mm-hmm. But our moccasins, they call sandals. And for severe punishments, this is reiterated by, nonetheless, I think it was John D. Rockefeller, which is going to tie back into this when we go back to the origin of the hope, or the origin of the blood contract, right? Mm-hmm. And then it say, swear a death oath. The death oath is called the most vile and bloody oath of the papacy. We already went over that. But anybody that want to see it, it's online. You can look it up. It's called the most vile and bloody oath of the papacy. That's their death oath. Between ourselves to religiously, that means they're gonna use religion, and faithfully, and they're gonna use faith-based organizations, not to allow anyone to teach the Moorish children, gonna block us out of the education, who they really were and who their forefathers were, and only allow the Moorish children to be taught that they were truly Negroes, Black people, and colored folks. 200 years from today, the Moorish people would not know their nationality, nor their national name, or their forefathers. Also, they would not know from which land or ancestors that they descended from. So all of those means is in there. Now, it's a couple things we need to know of terms. This term called patsy, right? Now, remember, we're talking Machiavellianism. When we're looking at these definitions or these descriptions that AI print out, it's going to tell us the background to the term patsy, which is a person that takes the fall for somebody else's wrongdoing. The person that took the fall is called a patsy, right? And it was tied to several different points of origin. As we see right here, it say the Italian influence. Some believe it derives from the Italian word pazzo, meaning madman, or the Southern Italian word paccio, which is also tied to Pinocchio, meaning fool. After Italian immigration to America, pazzo might have been Americanized as patsy and used to describe a gullible or easily deceived individual. Now we're talking Keefe D. Now, when they say vaudeville, remember, DC is political satire. Hollywood is actual big screen satire. It's all comedy. It's comedy, it's drama, it's vaudeville. Vaudeville was the plays they used to put on, and the traveling minstrel shows had what they call vaudeville acts, where they did plays and other things. It's another strong possibility traces the term patsy to Patsy Bolivar, a character in a late 19th century vaudeville skit who was always blamed when things went wrong. This character may have become a popular image of someone who takes the fall for others, right? That particular play was based on a true story. It wasn't a true story in and of itself, but it was based on one. The Irish connection. There is also a theory connecting Patsy to the Irish American diminutive to the name Patrick. In this context, Patsy was initially used as an underworld adjective for all is well, which evolved into sucker.
Wow.
The Pazzi family. Now, this is between two warring families in Italy. You had the Pazzi family and the Medici family. Prince Niccolo Machiavelli was the advisor from prison to the rising prince named Leonardo di Piero Medici. That means lion of the dog of the Medici clan, which is a Jewish story, the lion and the fox is what they're talking about. The lion and the fox is the quintessential characters of the perfected leader, right? So when they tell you